Hi, welcome back to the garden. We recently took down some dead trees around the property and I posted a video about it. We had some western red cedar trees which have really good quality wood. It lasts for a really long time untreated, and it actually lasts, I was reading, in the ground it can last for like 15 years as well. So anyway, it's an amazing wood. So there was a guy who lives nearby who has a sawmill. So we did like a deal with him where he came and collected the wood, milled it for us, and then he kept like a portion of the milled wood. So we just got our first batch of our milled wood for a bunch of different projects. But the first project I wanted to start on was veggie beds. So this is like the perfect wood for veggie beds because it just like lasts for such a long time, and because you don't have to treat it, you don't have to worry about like chemicals or anything like that interfering with your food crop. So anyway, I wanted to bring you along for the building of a couple of veggie beds. So I'm going to start off by taking the wood inside. It's kind of a rainy day out here, and I will saw it down to the size of like the different parts that we need. And then I will bring you along to show you the next step. So I brought the wood in, or at least most of it, pretty much as I could reach. But I wanted to show you the difference between the store-bought one and the one that we milled. So these are both like technically the same size. It's like 2 by 8. And the one that we got is actually 8 inches. This one is like 7 1/4. And then the thickness is like a full 2 inches versus 1 1/2. So just like wild. And the wood itself is just like really beautiful. Like I love seeing like the streaks and stuff. Some of the pieces have like really cool eyes and other features. So when I'm chopping these up, or when I'm assembling, I might try and like keep that facing out just because it looks so cool. So each bed needs 4 2-foot posts for the 4 corners, and then 6 pieces of the 2 by 8 I'm doing them 8 feet long, so that's how long the beds are gonna be. And then 6 pieces that are 4 feet long, and those are for the ends. So I'm gonna get chopping. Okay, so 6 pieces that are 8 feet long, 6 pieces that are 4 feet long, and then 4 of the 2-foot posts that are 4 by 4 inches. I actually made these, instead of 24 inches, I made them 25 inches each because the surface where I'm gonna put the bed isn't completely even. So I thought if I have just like a little bit of a buffer underneath, I can always like shave it off after if I don't need it. But yeah, so that's all the pieces of wood. And I have a bunch of wood screws, which are like, I don't know, like outdoors certified or something. So I'm gonna slowly start to move everything up to where the bed is actually gonna be, because if I start to assemble it, it'll be too heavy to move after. So I'm gonna take all the wood out there and get the screws together, the screwdriver. I think I'm gonna use a drill with a screw bit. So I'm gonna get the wood all together, I'm gonna get the screws all ready, and I'll bring you along to show you what's next. Okay, so I started lining everything up. So I have the 2-foot posts underneath, and then as you can see, I've staggered the wood on top, and I have one offcut so that I can measure. So on the other side, these 2 extend by 2 inches, and on this side, this one extends by 2 inches, and I can measure using the offcut. This one I actually cut a little crooked, so on that side it doesn't look perfect, but it doesn't matter too much because it'll kind of hide it once I put the side panels on. And then each post has just about like a 1/2 inch buffer at the bottom, so I can adjust the height if I need to. But basically that's it. So I'm gonna just measure this all out, make sure it's 100% lined up, and then I can start screwing it in. And then I'm gonna make two basically assembled panels that are exactly like this, which are the two sides. And then I'll show you how to fix the end pieces on, which then holds it all together. So I just put one screw in each panel because I wanted to be able to still give them some like little adjustments if they're not lined up perfectly. I just realized I didn't screw this one all the way in. So I'm gonna stand them up next. So I'm gonna stand them up now and start sliding in the other panels. So now this one, I just need to turn it around. Let's see if it's not too heavy. Okay, so that's the basics. And now I can take the pieces, and you can probably see that this one has like the 2 teeth, top and bottom, and then that one has the middle one. So then when I put the 4-foot boards across, they'll kind of like lock into each other a little bit. So I just need to get this like a little more lined up. And then I think I may end up having to prune the rows before I slide it into place, just to make sure it fits. Okay, so this is basically as far as I can get without putting those last few pieces in, or the last few screws in. So basically what I've done is, like, this bottom one is just resting on the floor. So as I screw them in, I'm gonna start from the top and make it as level as I can, and then kind of work everything else to that. And then I measured the diagonals because the diagonals should both be the same length. Otherwise, I guess it's not a rectangle. So it was slightly off and I adjusted it. I'll measure once more before I start screwing things in. The surface that I'm on is not completely level, so I wasn't sure exactly what to do about that. If I should like try to make the bed level, but it seemed kind of like overkill. So I thought I would just let it match what the ground is doing. Yeah. And then I'm not sure if I mentioned before, but the screws that I ended up using are 4 inches long. The posts are 4 inches, and then the wood itself is 4 inches. So, or sorry, 2 inches. So based on that, I figured that it would kind of cut most of the way into the post, or at least halfway. So basically it goes into about there. And then all the screws are being done from the outside because I didn't want any holes on the inside where the soil's gonna go, because I thought it might just be like too much of an entry point for, you know, bugs or whatever else. Okay, here we are. So it's basically ready. There's only one screw on each panel because I wanted to just make sure everything was completely straight. So now I'm gonna go through and add 2 more. So where there's like one here, I'll do one above and one below. So it's actually quite a few, but then that will make sure, or help make sure that it all stays together. And as far as, like I already said about how the Western cedar is like a really strong wood. It can handle being in the ground. It can handle having soil in it for a very long time. And one of the things I really like about like not having to treat it in any way is that if our plans change and we're like, actually like 5 years down the line, we don't want a veggie bed here, or we want to do something else, like all the wood will just break down naturally, or we can burn it without worrying about like fumes, or, you know, there's just a lot of options. So I really like that. Yeah, but basically it's all ready. So I'm gonna put those screws in, and then when Lewis is done with work, I'm gonna get him to help me to move it into place. We're just gonna bring it all the way to the edge down here. And this is the first of 4. So I just wanted to make sure that it all like kind of went okay and before I started all of them. And we also have to wait for the rest of the wood to arrive. I think we have, I think something like maybe 40% of the wood has arrived so far, so we still have like a lot to go. So the plan for this area here is to have 2 beds and then 2 beds on the far side, and then I would love to make like an 8x4 table that's kind of the same footprint as the beds to go in between them all. As far as filling it when the time comes, we have a bunch of brush that we've been saving, so basically just like big sticks, and then we'll do a layer of that, and then we'll do a layer of whatever wood chips we have around. Most of it has been sitting in a pile, so it's kind of been composting itself, so it has a head start. And then we'll do probably like the top 8 inches, we'll buy in like a good topsoil. So basically the plan is like as the stuff breaks down at the bottom, it helps feed the top, and it also helps to retain some moisture. So that's kind of the idea, but that's a little bit down the line still. But thanks for coming along, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in building something like this, it's like surprisingly easy, and I would say like fairly forgiving too. Like I didn't like measure too accurately, and like yeah, like some things could be lined up like a tiny bit better, but overall I would say like yeah, it's a pretty forgiving project to play with. Cool. Well, thanks for coming along, and I'll catch you next time.